Well, I have a cap and trade, so I thought that was something
Okay,
different.
well, we would ask about cap and trade too.
Well, you can also do healthcare first, and then we'll
What his
switch it.
position is.
He voted against the bill.
That's what I was thinking, as I recall, that was.
Yes, he voted against the bill.
Good.
So we're for
That's good. Now if we get him to vote against health care.
Well, my part was easy, so
Okay.
I'll let her take
Thank
over.
you.
He did.
We haven't had a vote yet on healthcare.
We don't really have a bill yet, do you?
We have a House bill, and we have 3 different versions that have been marked in committee. We obviously in the Senate, they've been looking at their version. However, they have a new version now that Senator Baucus has introduced, which takes out the public option. No, I think they're going to be marking up their version, or at least considering it in a hearing structure next week. But then aside, we're trying to figure out what's going to happen to our bill over here. You know, I'm not for sure. The committees did not finalize their consideration. They have to reconcile their 3 versions, as you probably are aware. And so they didn't get to that over August, considering that there was so much debate, which was a good thing. We wanted to hear more from constituents on that. So we're kind of left now trying to figure out where to go. I mean, I think the President spoke last night, so he reaffirmed his commitment to doing the healthcare bill. But, you know, my boss doesn't sit on the committee's jurisdiction, so we essentially will probably only have the 1 vote, at least in the beginning, whatever final bill comes up. And we don't know the timeline for that yet. So we're getting all the constituent concerns and trying to figure out where everyone's at right now.
We're going to see Heath Schuler after we leave here, and 2 weeks ago he was very opposed to it, you know, and I was hoping that Congressman McIntyre might be as well.
I mean, I think he has very strong concerns about H.R. 3200, which is the main bill that we can comment on. Most of his concerns have, you know, centered around the cost. He, just like Mr. Schuler, you know, is a Blue Dog Democrat, so they sort of abide by fiscal conservatism and making sure that we pay as you go in terms of paying down the national debt and only passing bills that we can afford. So I think with that said, I mean, he's very concerned about the cost of the bill. He has some other concerns about it as well that we've been looking at. Again, not sure how this is all going to change as we move forward, but that's more or less where he's at right now. But I will let him know that you're opposed, and my assumption is those members that would have been from our district would have been the same group. So.
But they were very concerned that somebody come by, you know, after they made an appointment, they might show up.
No, and we're glad that you're able to pass a message for them to us. Do you know where?
She's got a couple of questions. Did you ask all the questions?
No, not all of them. But first of all, may I have your name?
Sure, my name is Blair.
L-A-I-R-E.
No E.
No E. All right, Blair.
Although I think it looks better with an E sometimes.
It does. Are you familiar? Let's see. Several plans to raise the revenue necessary for such a massive new entitlement have been discussed. Do you know what he would support? Would he support the alcohol, the soda tax?
He has expressed concern about that tax to the groups that have come in and talk about it, so I don't think he would support those taxes, no.
Okay.
Hopefully they'll oppose
The
any
national
tax.
sales tax, aggravating. You don't think he supports any of this?
I haven't talked about the sales tax, but I know that he would not support the beverage tax. We've talked about that.
That would be the soda. What about the alcohol?
My assumption would be he would not support that either.
And health benefits tax?
In terms of...
Well, tax.
They tax your employer's portion of these as
I mean, my assumption is he would not. I mean, again, we haven't gone through the same list that you have, but my assumption is no.
Okay. What about other tax increases that he might support to support this bill? Do you know of any?
Not to my knowledge, no. I mean, the main tax provisions in the bill that we have been made aware of in terms of HR 3200 has been the top 1% tax. And then, of course, the employer mandate, which would include a tax on that, which he would be opposed to. So, thank you.
No, he came by and talked to you.
Okay, great. Do you know where the group was from our district? Where in the district? Wilmington or Fayetteville?
With two of them were from Wilmington, and one I think was from Goldsboro.
That's not.
That's not it. That was in Jones. Okay. But there were two of them were from Wilmington. I don't know.
Okay.
I knew I'm in the western part of the state. That's foreign country to me.
Sure.
Could you tell if he was in favor of any other health care reform proposals?
Sure.
Some other plans or?
Sure. I think that the congressman realizes that, there are certain problems within our system, but there are certain things that are working. And some of those that he's been willing to continue looking at, maybe expanding or improving upon, obviously are maintaining Medicare solvency, making sure that we look at certain long-term care and hospice issues, improving the electronic medical records. He's been a long-term supporter of children's health care, so making sure that SCHIP is still viable. So there's a lot of different provisions on the table that he's looked at. He's also been a past supporter of the Small Business Health Fairness Act, which I don't know if y'all are aware of that, but it would create associated health plans that would allow small businesses to sort of pull together to purchase health insurance. So, there's many different things out there right now, and things that he's been supportive of looking at. Preventive care, obviously, is
How does he
important.
feel about moving insurance across state lines to make it more competitive this
We
year?
were actually just talking about that. I think that he would probably be willing to look at that as an option, but I think the concern he has is, what would happen if, everyone starts buying from the one state and just creates a monopoly there. I don't know how that would
That'd make
work.
the others would have to get more competitive
Well,
to stay with
potentially,
them.
but,
Yeah.
I think we've never really looked at that before,
Yeah.
so we'd have to figure out how to do it before, I think.
But there seems to be a lot
moving
of talk about that the
Yeah,
past
and
couple
I
of
think
weeks.
he's willing to talk about it, but we haven't seen any language on it yet.
But it sounds like from what you're telling us that
He's willing to look at everything right now, essentially.
that's all we can ask.
There's a lot on the table.
We are
Seven
asking
different
that in the
versions.
form that it is in, the healthcare,
Mhm.
that be in the, we voted
Okay.
yes, in the form that it's in.
Okay, well,
Especially for our age,
And I'm telling you,
Medicare,
nobody I know.
Obama says one thing and says one thing one day and does something different the next day. And like us, he says, you keep your present insurance one day, and it's not in the bill that says no, and we're under Medicare Advantage, and he's wants to completely put that completely out of the system. So he says one thing one day and does something different.
I will make sure that he knows your views, and I thank you for coming by. So thanks so
Thank
much.
you so
Thank you.
much.
Yeah.